Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Doomsday Podcast. Today is April 27th, 2026, and joining me as always is LP. What's going on, man?
What is going down?
What is going down? Apparently everybody on Trump currently after what happened over the weekend. I don't know if you caught that shit. Yeah. Well, that's another show. That's not this one. Anyway,
Haters gonna hate. Anyway.
Haters. You know, they're going to get his ass. For the listeners out there, there's been too many attempts and they've all failed. Eventually, someone is going to be successful.
You know, they say he was literally on Truth Social minutes after that saying, I missed again.
Figures. He's a cocky son of a bitch, you know? I mean, he's getting shit done, but he's a cocky son of a bitch. But I guess you kind of got to be that way to get things done nowadays, don't you?
Truth.
Okay, so here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk, and this is just because it's April, darkest month in history, April. A lot of people don't know that, but it's like throughout our history of the last 100 years, some of the major crazy things that go down happen in the month of April. For whatever reason why, it doesn't make any logical sense. I heard someone say one day, and I put some stock and faith into this idea, that everybody thinks that the beginning of the year is the time to restart. You know, new year, new you, go to the gym and make yourself a better person. However, that's wrong. The time of rebirth is spring. That's when all the new baby critters are being born. That's when the trees are blooming again and flowers are blooming again and like fruit-bearing trees are starting to blossom, you know. So spring is the rebirth time, you know. So when we talk about this dark time in history, what's actually it's supposed to be this rebirth of brightness and sunshine and all the good. So I think that maybe something psychological has happened to humanity in the last few hundred years that is triggering some of these events to happen. Although some of these are naturally occurring as well. So we're going to get into some of these things and what they are. Did you do your research?
I did. So much research.
Okay, so let's go.
I researched so hard.
Okay, well, there's a lot of things that happened, and I'm not sure where to start with this, but let's start with the sinking of the Titanic, April 14th, April 15th.
Okay,
that was one of the biggest tragedies that America, well, I guess the world saw, because this was a vessel coming to America, so it wasn't an American vessel, right?
Yep.
But that was a big one, over 1,500 deaths with the Titanic. So pretty dark time. And you were there, right?
Yes, I was. I kicked several children and pregnant women off of the life raft.
Gotcha. So,
I will survive.
Now, just something I'd like to point out. Back then, in 1912, even the media was corrupt back then. For those of you that don't know, the newspaper articles that came out reported various different happenings. The boat didn't sink at all. The boat did sink. There were no survivors. There was 5 survivors. So the news articles were all over the place because they were still trying to grab, you know, headlines and make stories back then, even before, you know, I guess, you know, TV news existed or anything. It was in the paper. You know, it was all screwed up, the news stories that we're getting. So just know that media has been corrupt for over 100 years. That's all.
Most definitely.
Drop that nugget out there. Another one we have that happened is we have the Chernobyl meltdown happened in April 26th of 1986. Okay.
Yep.
So,
I was there. I remember that.
Oh, you were there, man. Of course you were.
I remember that.
You've been everywhere. Now, the Chernobyl meltdown is something that could still plague us. Okay. For those of you that don't know this, a lot of people, a lot of people have like a different thought process on this, and they don't really understand what happened. But it was an explosion that led to a nuclear meltdown, and the reactor is still melting down. And they built a giant concrete structure over it called the sarcophagus that will eventually become compromised and need to be rebuilt. And if something were to happen to that, and that sucker would open up, immediate life in the area would probably end. However, you do have people that are in the area that are in the no living zone, and they're like, yeah, we're fine. We're not going anywhere. We're fine.
Yeah. There's actually a plan to build another dome right over top of that dome because that's the only way to really do it.
Right. And that's probably, I mean, you got to think, man, imagine working on that. I wonder what kind of pay those guys are getting.
All of it. All the pays.
All the pay. Right. And there's been a lot of talk when Russia and Ukraine first kicked up and that shit started really going off. There was a lot of people that said that Russia was going to target Chernobyl. Yeah. And if they were going to try to rupture the sarcophagus, which I think would be just a stupid thing to do. And I don't see what the benefit would be in that forum, but just, understand that it is still a problem and it is something that could be compromised and it is something that could cause an apocalyptic situation in that region. So anyway, moving on to, and this is one I didn't know about, the Hillsborough Stadium disaster in Sheffield, England. 96 people got killed on April 15th of 89. Were you there for that one?
No, but I saw it on TV. That was the one where they were jumping up and down and that collapsed.
I think I saw video of it.
Yeah, I saw that on TV.
Maybe years and years ago. Maybe I saw some videos of it.
I think it was color. I think the TV was color.
They definitely had color in 89, dude. Come on. Come on.
You don't know.
All right, so... Well, I don't know much about this one, so I'm not going to get into the story of it because I don't know anything about it. But one of the next ones we have on the list here, I do know a lot about, which is the siege at Ruby Ridge, or not Ruby Ridge. I'm sorry, Waco. The Waco siege. Okay, with the Branch Davidians, David Koresh. This took place April 19th of 1993 is when it ended, and over 70 people were killed in Waco, Texas, at Mount Carmel. Okay. And if you guys don't, if you haven't, you have to be living under a rock if you don't know who David Koresh was and what happened in Waco, Texas, because it's been very popularized in the media. There's been 100 documentaries on it. They've made like TV movies about it. It's been all over. But I remember watching this news story unfold. I remember watching the building burning on the news. But again, another dark thing that happened in April, and this one I would like to point out was at the hands of our lovely federal government.
Oh yeah, they're the best.
They are the best. Now, granted, Koresh was a total piece of shit. All right, and it was a cult. People that don't want to believe it was a cult, I'm sorry, it was a cult. He was a cult leader. He had a cult following. He was doing things in that building with kids he should not have been doing. Okay. Now, as far as the accusations of the illegal weapons and things he was running, I've never truly found a hard number on or any hard documentation on if what they were going after actually existed. Everything I read is always, it was the ATF speculated he had these things. Speculated. Mm-hmm. They didn't have hard proof of it.
Yeah.
But they were selling guns. Like that part was actually true. That's how they funded a lot of their operation. It was a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on to another one that I don't know, and this one is pretty bad. This one was in April 6th, the beginning of the Rwandan genocide, resulting in the death of over 500,000 people. Were you there for that one?
No, I wasn't, but I heard about it.
I did. What did you hear about it? Because I don't know if you have any information to enlighten anybody.
Oh, no. It was the next town over.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, papers didn't go that far back in the 90s, I guess.
No. we were still using the 3-shell method and,
Right. Gotcha. So, all right. So we'll move on to that one into the next one, which is the April 19th, 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. This was a big one. Federal building killing 168 people. This was carried out by Timothy McVeigh, which was executed using lethal injection. However, there is some new controversy around that saying that he's still alive.
That's funny.
Yeah, apparently there's some politician out there, I can't remember his name, but apparently he's like the spitting image of McVeigh.
Okay.
Right, and they swear it's him.
It's like a Facebook moment gone bad.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. But I'll be one of the first people to say that I don't think McVeigh acted alone.
Hard to tell.
I think that he had a couple accomplices that knew what was happening, that he planned it with, that helped him load those trucks. I think that there was other people involved. And now the interesting thing about it, there's people out there that swear up and down that he had nothing to do with it, that he was just the first person the government could point their finger at, and they needed to get somebody for this, which I actively don't believe. He was in too many weird places he was very extremist right wing, and he was also at the siege of Ruby Ridge. He was out there. Mm-hmm. They actually got his ass on camera out there, and it's stated that this was his way of retaliating against the government for things like Waco, for things like Ruby Ridge.
Well, they probably had to pin it on him because he survived Ruby Ridge.
Well, he wasn't part of Ruby Ridge. He was just there as an onlooker. He drove there in his car.
Oh, I see.
During the siege, and was there, I guess, in support of Randy Weaver.
Mm.
So it's very, very interesting that he was there. And then there's a lot, like there's rabbit holes you can go down with McVeigh. But this was the worst domestic terrorist attack that we've seen on U.S. soil, maybe ever, by a domestic terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those kind of things where this happened so close to present day. There's audio of this explosion. There's tons of newspaper articles. There's documentaries. There's a lot you can go in and actually look up about this incident, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, moving on from that, we have the April 20th, 1999 shooting at the Columbine High School where 12 classmates, one teacher were killed. If you don't know the story of this, you had two pieces of shit named Eric and Dylan that decided they were going to have a full-on massacre at their school. Now, there's a lot of information that's been kept close to the chest about this by the FBI over the years. There's a lot of details that have not been released. There's a lot of home movies and stuff that these kids were recording leading up to the event that the general public has not been privy to. And I do believe some of it has been transcribed and is available now on certain places online. I'd be very careful with what you're Googling, though, okay? Because right now, currently, we just had, just to continue with this trend of April, we just had that shooting that took place down in Mexico. One woman, a Canadian national, got killed during that shooting. Now, the reason I say be careful what you Google is because this shooter had a book on him that referenced the Columbine shootings. So, yeah, you might get put on a watch
around
list.
how-to manuals.
Yeah, pretty much. So you might get put on a watch list if you do that. Now, the interesting thing about Columbine is this is kind of what really started kicking off these shootings in America at the schools. I mean, this was, I don't know if you remember back, like people talked about the trench coat mafia and all of these things of the early 2000s. It was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
So if you wore a trench coat, you put a target on your back then. Now, these kids that pulled off this massacre, they had intentions of doing a lot more damage and harm. There was homemade explosive devices that they made that failed to activate because they had no clue what the fuck they were doing. The FBI and the federal government basically made this a pretty cut and dry thing. There wasn't a lot of other things that came out about it. And I'm a firm believer that Dylan and Eric also had an accomplice. I think there was somebody working with them behind the scenes, kind of, what's the word I want to use? Kind of coaching them or maybe coaxing them to do this, maybe.
Yeah,
but that's just
possible.
That's just my personal opinion. And the reason why my brain keeps going back to that specifically is because when you talk to people that knew the kids that did this, they said, yeah, they were kind of outcasted a little bit, but like they weren't kids that you would think would do something like this. Like there was no giant red flags. This wasn't like a Dahmer situation where there was this weird recluse kind of upbringing and the collection of the dead animals and the weird behaviors and stuff. Like, no. For these kids to be psycho killers, they were very normal. So that's one reason I think there was somebody working in the background with them to coax them along. The other thing I think is that whoever that person is in those tapes, and that's why they've never been released to the general public. So that's just my weird conspiracy there. To follow it up, you had the Virginia Tech shooting on April 16th of 2007, where 32 people were killed by a gunman. Okay. So it's continuing this dark trend of April and continuing into the shootings now. Right. So I don't know how much you know about the Virginia Tech, but that was a big one that was put up on a pedestal for gun control.
Yep.
It was a big one. So to move on from Virginia Tech, we've got the Deepwater Horizon oil rig explosion, where 11 workers were killed on April 20th of 2010. Which that one, I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers like the BP oil spill and the funding that came out from that for the local residents that were affected. And just that made like massive headlines where everybody was like boycotting BP and doing all this shit, right? Mm-hmm. The Deepwater Horizon incident didn't stick around in the media all that long, but because accidents happen, right?
Yeah.
To move on from that, now you're talking about a natural disaster. There was a southeastern tornado outbreak April 27th to April 28th in 2011 that killed 316 people.
That's on my list.
That is on your list. Okay, you got any good information about that?
Oh no, it's probably the same stuff that you got. It says that it's one of the largest, most violent modern outbreaks, but that's not true.
Was it at the time?
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and then the final one I have on my list here is the April 15th, 2013 Boston Marathon bombing, killing 3 people and injuring over 250. And I've still got the Sports Illustrated.
How many people did it kill? What? Say that again?
3 people got killed. 3.
Okay, I thought you said injured 300. I was like, I don't remember that many.
No. It injured over 250 were injured.
Gotcha.
But the injuries weren't necessarily caused by the explosion. They were caused by the chaos and people panicking and running and stepping on each other and things like that. Right?
Yeah. Fall down, go boom.
Now, those of you that have ever wondered where the controversy of the pressure cooker, exploding pressure cooker jokes come from, that's where they come from, because that's what was used at the Boston Marathon bombing. So,
oh yeah.
And I still have the Sports Illustrated. For whatever reason, I was subscribed to Sports Illustrated at the time.
Say it
and
isn't so.
And they, yeah, right. I don't know. So anyway, they sent me one with that on the cover, and I still have it because I was like, this is a piece of history. I'm hanging on to this, right? One day people are going to wonder what this was, or my kids are going to ask about it, and I can pull that out,
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. April's a very dark month, and we've had some new things happen. We just had the shooting in Mexico. We also had a father that just massacred basically his entire family in Louisiana. I don't know. Did you see that one?
No, I don't think I did.
8 people killed. 7 of them were his kids.
Oh, yeah, I did read about that. That was awful.
Yeah, really, really bad. And I'm waiting to see what comes out about that more because I'm thinking they're going to use that one for red flag laws.
I don't know. We'll see.
This was a guy that everybody thought was like not a horrible guy. This guy served in the military. He seemed normal by most accounts, but seemed very stressed out lately over the situation with his children. And, this was all premeditated killing. He just didn't snap. He went house to house, executing his kids.
Yeah.
So he had time to think this through. Yeah. I mean, it's very weird. It's very strange. But anyway, I've been just going here. What do you got on your list?
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm in the preparedness space, so I mean, I kind of focus on things that are real. Unfortunately, most of my stuff is all weather related because we have to deal with the weather, and a lot of times it can come get you whether you like it or not. Let's see, 1947, the Glazer-Higgins-Woodard tornado outbreak, April 9th through the 10th, and this covered Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. 181 deaths, including the deadly Woodward OKF5 tornado, ginormous.
Yes.
Basically, it was part of a multi-day deadly sequence, is what they were talking about. But F5s just rolling through 3 states. Yeah, there's going to be some death and destruction there, and that's actually kind of a low number for these kind of things. Excuse me. There's another one that was in 1965, the Palm Sunday tornado outbreak. That was on April 11th, 1965, and that was in the Midwest Great Lakes region. 271 deaths, dozens of tornadoes, dozens, and that's not even a large amount according to the history books. They moved across 6 different states, and that's considered to be one of the deadliest outbreaks. But even then, that's still not true. It's still not true because, as usual, there's more.
Oh yeah,
we've got the 2011. This one's kind of crazy. This in 2011, not that far. I mean, anybody listening to this was probably alive in 2011. They had what they call the super outbreak of tornadoes, April 25th through the 28th. And they say it was primarily around April 27th. 324 deaths were the total for that outbreak in Alabama, one of the largest, most violent modern outbreaks for tornadoes. And then what do we got here? 1974, the super outbreak of tornadoes. That was April 3rd through the 4th, but it covered 13 states and Ontario. They're estimating around 330 deaths, and there were 148 plus tornadoes, including 30 F4s and F5s. This was, they say it's the second largest, most violent U.S. outbreak ever. But I don't know what, that one seems pretty bad. So I don't know what the most violent one would be, but the list is growing here. You've got the 1973 Manganji tornado. Actually happened. Yeah, it's Manganji. It's either a really strong coffee or the name of the next board game. But that was in Bangladesh, and they say 681 people died. Severe tornado in a drought-affected area, one of Bangladesh's deadliest pre-1989 events. But there's more. You got the 1989 Dilapator tornado, April 26th. That also happened in Bangladesh. 1,300 people passed away.
Jeez.
And it destroyed everything in a 6-kilometer area. They say 1,200 people were injured and over 80,000 homes were destroyed.
Wow.
Let's see. And we're almost done with the list. Let's see. We're moving on to earthquakes. 2015. This one will catch you off guard. Nepal, April 25th. 8,964 deaths.
Wow.
7.8 magnitude quake. Major aftershocks followed. But the primary toll was from April 25th. Almost 9,000 people died in one day from an earthquake. Talk about taking things for granted, you know?
Yeah, really.
But at the top of my list, 1991 Bangladesh cyclone, April 24th. 138,000 people died. It's considered to be the most deadliest tropical cyclone ever recorded. Massive storm surge up to 20 feet, and it devastated the coastal areas. 10 million people were left homeless.
Wow.
Those are some serious numbers about weather that we just take for granted. And all of this happened in the glorious month of April.
Right. So I do want to, something you mentioned, as you said, like, oh, but these, my things are real on my list. My things are real too. Okay.
You're on, no.
They happen. They're real. So
That's not real.
I guess I think that my prerogative on what was on my list was, I guess, like how I prep, I think like, societal collapse, how crazy people get, and, what the government will do, and, things like that. And I think that's why I kind of hit the things that I did. Mm-hmm. Was mainly like, hey, look, you could be thinking life's normal, and then all of a sudden, boom, something like this happens, and then, whatever. But to the point of weather and natural disaster, like, yeah, that's what a lot of people are prepping for. And the whole point of doing this episode was just to say, hey, if you're ever thinking something can't happen, just look back at what happens in April, because this is when all the shit gets condensed for whatever reason. It's very strange.
If you think it can't go wrong, hold your breath through the month of April.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. It is bad. And I'm telling you, I think there's something to be said about coming out of winter and new beginnings, and, people's brains just going to shit. And then a lot of the times too, it's when you're having these like natural disasters like Chernobyl or the Horizon oil rig incident, what was going on there? Like, what actually did cause the meltdown? What actually did cause the explosion on the oil rig? Was this a human error thing?
Mm-hmm.
Did some guy just say that I've had enough and I'm taking everybody with me? And they did something stupid. And, research just came back and said, it was an accident.
Columbine was an accident.
It looks like this malfunctioned kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And it was just some idiot over there with a wrench like, I'm going to bang on this thing till it breaks. Fuck this job. you know? So get prepped and remember that April is the worst month in history. It's the darkest month.
Yeah. I mean, technically you still have 1, 2, 3, 4 more days left. So you could die.
Yeah, you could. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, that's about all the time we have for today. You want to leave them with anything before we get out of here?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just going to sit here and think about all the bad weather that killed all those people.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see everybody on the next episode. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.